Hello, my name is Tony. Merry Christmas to you. Hello, my name is Tony. Happy New Year to you. On a Majesty's Secret Service then. Or as the late Queen's gynecologist Sir Percy Gash Probyn once quipped as he hunkered down to work,
at Her Majesty's Secret Cervix.
Then recoiled in surprise as his words echoed back to him, accompanied by the howling of ghosts. When Sean Connery went to Japan to film You Only Live Twice, he was mobbed by hordes of Japanese fans with cameras and autograph books. He was pestered day and night, given no peace. Even when he nipped into the public lavatory to take a shit, crowds surged in. They peered under the cubicle door and over the top of the stall, grinning and snapping away as Sir Sean grappled with a bog roll and demanded they politely fuck off. For the first time, though, it really hit home to the actor how flushed with success he was. He was bowled over by the realization of just how globally recognized and popular he had become, feeling strongly in his water that what Eon were paying him was not compatible with his contribution to the franchise and global status on the world stage. He demanded more dough. Cubby and Harry were tightwads and wouldn't give him what he wanted, so Sir Sean promptly quit and fucked off to do other stuff. He walked out on the role that had given him a career, yet it was a role he had grown to resent, and Eon let him go. Later, they would beg him to return for Diamonds Are Forever, and he did, for a £1 million payday, the highest sum forked out to a leading male actor at that time. In an act of uncharacteristic generosity and probably a final finger of fuck you to Cubby, Harry and Eon, he donated his fee to a Scottish educational charity. He vowed never to play Bond again and said as much.
Never, I say. Never again.
Wonder how that worked out for him. Anyway, after You Only Live Twice with Connery in the wind and the next James Bond movie on the slate, Eon needed someone to play the part. Going for a relative unknown with Connery had worked out well, so why wouldn't it work again? Right. There was a popular confectionery at the time known as Fry's Chocolate Cream. A TV advert had an Australian male model, I suppose you would have called him, delivering bars of the calorific junk and grinning at the ladies. He became known as the Big Fry. His name was George Lazenby, and that's who Eon got to play the world's most famous British secret agent in the world's most popular money-spinning movie franchise. Now, when put like that, it sounds a disastrous move. I mean, Connery had been on the beefcake circuit as Mr. Universe at one point, I know. Although by the time he became Bond, he did have a string of movie acting experiences behind him, so he was something of a seasoned screen performer. Lazenby had next to nothing. A non-actor taking the leading role in a film of what was arguably Ian Fleming's most emotional James Bond novel. Bond falls deeply in love, gets married, it ends in tragedy. Now, there's no way of knowing how Connery would have handled it, but Lazenby approaches it with all the charm and intense, flexible emotional investment of Pinocchio's arse. Wooden as fuck. That's as negative as I'm gonna get on the guy. Well, probably. For quite some time I disliked his performance as Bond, but it's gradually something I got used to and softened towards. When Brozza rocked up later, I began to think that to all intents and purposes he really wasn't that bad. And as for the film itself, despite a few missteps here and there, it is one of the very best Bond movies, and a definite case of uniqueness in certain ways. Let's get the plot out of the way first, for as with most Bond movies, it's little more than a sometimes convoluted framework into which the action and on-screen exploits of Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang are stylishly inserted. James Bond, George Lazenby, is preoccupied with Operation Bedlam, an MI6 mission to locate and either apprehend or eliminate Spectre villain Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Telly Savalas. Early doors, Bond encounters Contessa Teresa Tracy DiVincenzo, Diana Rigg. He saves her from drowning herself and later has sex with her, presumably to help drive away her suicidal thoughts. A sort of dick therapy. Dick therapy, what a great name for a psychiatrist. Bond keeps getting attacked by thugs who seem to be hanging around in Tracy's vicinity. Then he is kidnapped by them and taken to the warehouse of European crime syndicate boss Marc-Ange Draco, Gabriel Fazzetti. Draco is Tracy's father and explains his daughter's troubled past. He offers Bond money if he will keep up the dick therapy as a potential cure for whatever emotional trauma ails his daughter. I don't think the psychiatric services routinely offer this intervention on the national health. Shame, innit? Bond initially refuses, but then realizes that Draco, with his vast network of criminal enterprises and legitimate businesses, might be able to source info on Blofeld's whereabouts. So he agrees to have another go on Tracy and see what develops. I mean, can't hurt, can it? Let's cut to it. Blofeld is hiding out in his allergy research institute high in the Swiss Alps. He believes he is of royal blood and wants his submitted claim to the title Count Balthazar de Beauchamp recognised. Sir Hilary Bray, George Baker, is the herald of the London College of Arms. He has been invited to the clinic to substantiate the legitimacy of Blofeld's claim to the title. Bond disguises himself as Bray and travels to the institute in his place. Now, when I say Bond disguises himself, he puts on a trilby, wears glasses, takes up smoking a pipe, and speaks with George Baker's dubbed voice. Bloody convincing, enough to fool anybody. Blofeld's clinic purports to cure unfeasibly sexy young ladies of their phobias, with a combination of drugs, hypnosis, and brainwashing. His aim is to unleash his 12 angels of death upon the world, who, when triggered by radio command auto-suggestion, will launch a bacteriological warfare agent that results in the sterility of all plants, crops, human and animal species on Earth. What does he want? He wants his title claim validated so that he may retire to a life of regal legitimacy. If his demand is met, he won't release the plague. Seems cheap at the price to me, but what the fuck do I know? Bond strongly disagrees anyway, and we're off to the races. Ski races, stock car races, and bobsled races. There are things that possibly let it down, and other things that make it bloody brilliant. I shall look at them under the twin titles Rightist Earlobe and Leftist Earlobe. Leftist Earlobe first.
Leftist earlobe.
There's no way to sugarcoat it, Lazenby is a fucking terrible actor. Even with something as relatively undemanding in a dramatic sense as Bond, he clearly struggles. He lacks that deftness that Connery had, the capacity for projecting latent danger, for laconic wit, and that predatory charm he could channel like it was second nature. Bond requires a certain savoir-faire, a je ne sais quoi and steel combo. Lazenby is all inexpressive g'day, clunk and grind gumbo. Not his fault, I hasten to add. And considering it's his first major acting gig, it could have been much worse. But it's the front runner of a few obstacles the film imposes upon itself purely by its own doing. The pre-credit sequence in which Bond rescues Tracy from the sea is great kinetic, adrenaline-stirring stuff. It ends infamously with Lazenby breaking the fourth wall, looking smugly into the camera and addressing the audience with the line,
"This never happened to the other fella."
Now, depending on the viewer's point of view, it's either a harmless and amusing aside, or a damaging reminder that this is a fiction and you shouldn't take it seriously. I made my peace with it over the years, but initially it jarred on me like a motherfucker. I didn't need it hammered home that Connery was gone, a tailor's dummy had replaced him, and suspension of disbelief no longer mattered. The chronology of the Ian Fleming novels has, on a Majesty Secret Service preceding You Only Live Twice. The latter followed the former, directly picking up on Bond as a broken, depressed soul grieving the death of his wife and pretty much at the end of his rope. He sets out on a revenge mission to kill Blofeld, who is laying low in Japan. Reversing the trajectory of the novels means Bond and Blofeld met on screen for the first time in You Only Live Twice, where he's played by a facially scarred Donald Pleasance. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he no longer has facial scarring, but his earlobes have been removed to mimic the hereditary physical characteristics of the de Beauchamps. However, he fails to immediately recognise Bond, whose disguise is no disguise at all. Later, we get an "I knew it was you all along 007 moment from Savalas, but if you followed the films and have something like a functioning memory, it just doesn't add up. Plus, it gives rise to all sorts of unnecessary considerations. Should we pretend the previous film never happened? Does Blofeld not recognise him because he's being played by a different actor? And if so, how does that work? All it would do is expose the machinery in the fiction, and worst of all, sow the seed of the massively stupid theory that James Bond is a code name for different agents who take on the 00 prefix. Piss off. He's one character, one man. I won't scream it again, although I probably will. Here's the thing, increased taxation does not stimulate growth, and if you overtax, the audience is perplexed and disenfranchised at the very least. And there I'm gonna quit with the negatives, because there really isn't anything else to complain about. Seriously.
Rightist earlobe.
When it comes to the physicality, the action, the rough stuff, Lazenby bloody well excels. He is quite superb in the fight scenes, which rookie director Peter Hunt spices with rapid cut editing and speeding up a few frames here and there. This Bond is a man of action, and the set pieces do him justice and vice versa. For the first time, they put him on skis for 2 thrilling chases peppered with gallows humour and zinging quips. Who doesn't love it when a pursuer lands in a snow shredder and is blasted out in bits to stain the scenery red, with Bond noting,
"He had lots of guts."
There's an avalanche, a stock car race, a helicopter assault on Blofeld's mountainous lair, and a thrilling climactic chase finale with bobsleighs. Diana Rigg, an accomplished actress and no stranger to action, i.e. The Avengers, no, not that one, proves an excellent choice as a Bond girl. Oh dear, I said it. Not supposed to say that anymore, Bond girl. Ah shit, I said it again. Well, it's, what is it now? Oh yeah, that's it. I don't fucking care. Diana Rigg makes a great Bond girl and can at least do some acting stuff. Good counterpoint to Laza, and Rigg is smart enough not to unduly overshadow him. Well, not deliberately, although it must have taken some restraint. In the end, Tracy doubles as the sacrificial lamb, a first for a key player. Savalas is my personal favourite Blofeld, oozing classy, silky menace and sophisticated villainy all the way. The 12 Angels of Death are distractingly gorgeous and delightful, a literal harem of Bond girls for 007 to try and sleep his way through. Purely for Queen and country, you understand. Sacrifices must be made in the line of duty. Amongst their number, you will find Joanna Lumley, Julie Edge, Jenny Hanley, Anushka Hempel, Catherine Schell, and Angela Schoolar. Bernard Lee and Lois Maxwell reprise their roles as M and Moneypenny respectively, and Desmond Llewellyn shows up as Q for the wedding. Directorially, Peter Hunt hits the ground running. There is a distinct festive atmosphere as the time centred around the clinic in Switzerland in the snow takes place at Christmas. Michael Reed's cinematography and the aerial camera work are fabulous, and John Barry delivers a masterpiece soundtrack. The main theme is a pulsating, rousing, blaring barnstormer. What, no theme song? Well, no worries. The future classic and oft-covered tune, We Have All the Time in the World, performed by Louis Armstrong, written by Barry and lyricist Hal David, plays a significant part in Bond and Tracy's romance. The song title providing the last line of the film to boot. If you can get past Lazenby replacing Connery and his limited, I'm being kind, acting range and comparatively diminished screen presence, then you have a dazzling top-flight Bond adventure, one that succeeds in including a number of firsts. First Bond film without Connery, first to break the fourth wall, and last, I hope, first to put him on skis, first in which Bond pinches Moneypenny's ass, and last, I hope, misogynist, where's the consent? First in which Bond tenders his resignation, and first in which things end on a downer. Sadly, wasn't the last, thanks to Daniel fucking Craig and his miserablest weep fests. Funny how you can go off someone. As most will know, Lazenby abandoned the role soon as the film was done. He looked to the future with razor-sharp precognitive intelligence and reasoned that Bond was old hat and was headed for oblivion. Not exactly Nostradamus, was he? When Connery returned in Diamonds Are Forever, he was still searching for Blofeld, but there is no mention of revenge or his short-lived marriage. It got referenced twice later in the Roger Moore years, The Spy Who Loved Me and For Your Eyes Only. See, one character, one man, and don't forget it, on a Majesty Secret Service was the second most financially successful film of 1969. Vaudeville pseudo-western bitch crappity and the shitpants kid dominating the top spot. So those who paint it as a monetary failure are mistaken. It would rank in my top 5 Bond films and is, along with Where Eagles Dare, my go-to festive movie entertainment experience. It is a classic example of how to make a Bond movie from a time when they knew how to make a Bond movie. As Ruby Bartlett might put it,
it's true!
Thank you most kindly for your time and attention. Well, that's another year just about done, and this channel enters its 5th Anus Distorters. Tempus fugit, as they say. My resolution is not to make any resolutions. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. Like James Bond, I will return, until a point is reached where I don't. Take care, pilgrims, and I wish you all that you wish yourselves for the future ahead.